Indiana Department of Child Services Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Hotline. To continue in English, press 1. If you are a law enforcement officer, please enter your access code now to be directed for immediate response. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. This call will be recorded for quality assurance purposes. Indiana Child Abuse Hotline, how can I help you?
Yes, ma'am. I need to inquire as to why a police department was active at where my daughter is right now.
Okay. I couldn't provide details in regards to that.
Exactly. That's why I called to ask for an investigation.
Oh, I thought you were calling to see why they were there at the home.
Well, no matter what, you guys are going to have to do the investigation on that end.
What's your name?
Brian Jones.
And you said you're the father to the child?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's your date of birth?
6/2/71.
And an address for you?
902 Sinclair Street, Fairdale, Kentucky. 40118.
Did you say Fairdale, Kentucky?
Yeah, essentially you can also put down Louisville instead if you want. Same area.
And what's the zip code again?
40118.
And a phone number you can reach that area code first, please?
502-233-1566.
And your child's name?
Abigail, Abigail Jones.
And her date of birth?
8/30/2011.
And are there any other children that reside in the home?
No.
Okay, and who does she reside with?
Paula Chesser. Cheser. And Curtis Myrick. Myrick. Myrick is the point of concern because this guy did time in 79 for strangling a woman to death and trying to shoot a little police officer.
Okay, 1 second. Let me get some more demographic information from you. Do you have the address for the family?
Yes. 5867 West Reunion Street. Once again, 5867 West Reunion Street.
What city is that in?
Fredericksburg.
And then Paula is the mother to the child?
No, she's the maternal grandmother. The mother attacked me a couple years ago. She's a violent bipolar. I came back 2 hours later. My arm was still bleeding.
If I could, sir, if I could stop you and get some more demographics.
Go ahead and continue.
I can add that in as you're sharing that information.
Not a problem.
What's the mother's name?
Kimberly Alexander.
So who is the primary, or who is the legal guardian of the child?
At this point, Paula Chesser.
Okay. Do you have an address and phone number for Kimberly?
No.
Okay. And then Paula being the legal guardian, did that go to the court that you're aware of?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
We have some issues at hand to take care of this now.
Okay, so you said Miss Alexander is a violent bipolar?
Yeah.
How do you describe her?
She ended up attacking me a couple years ago. And long story short, I came back 2 hours later. My arm was still bleeding. She was still running, still rambling. I picked up Abigail and walked out because she took my car keys. She called 911 saying a stranger kidnapped our daughter.
Okay, 1 second, sir. Okay, and
When the cops found out that I was the father, they questioned her. She accidentally identified where the wound was She tried blaming it on the baby. She resisted arrest, assaulted an officer. Upon pat down, she was found to have an orange cut straw in her pocket with white residue from where she was crushing her pain pills and snorting them.
Okay.
She was looking at 3 years jail.
Are you calling in regards to that today?
No, I'm calling in regards to that. The address in Fredericksburg, 2 cop cars just showed up there yesterday and was arresting people from that household.
At the Reunion Street address, arresting people?
Correct.
Do you know who was arrested?
No, the extended family out there was on the school bus, but saw the cops pulling people out of the house.
Do we know why the people were arrested?
That's why I'm calling you. First of all, that's the address my daughter is supposed to be at, and these people. This guy was just arrested March 7th of 2013 from ATF and the local police department for being a convicted felon in possession of multiple handguns and what turned out to be enough drugs to list his spot as a hazard distribution.
Okay, sir, because I this information.
You're going to need a case number for the state of Indiana, which reads as, let me know when you're ready.
I'm trying to go back to what you just said. I wasn't able to get all of that information because I do have to type this.
Not a problem.
Merrick was arrested on what date?
March 7th, 2013.
For what?
Being a convicted felon in possession of multiple firearms, and they found enough drugs to list his house as a spot of distribution.
Are you aware of anything like that since 2013?
No, but the cops just showed up, so I'm wondering.
Have you contacted the local law enforcement that was at that home?
I don't trust them worth a hoot at this point in time. I'll give you further information on that in a second. I'm going to read you the case number from 2013. Reads as 88D01-1303-FB, as in Frank Boy, dash 00030
Can you read that back one more time, please?
Yes, ma'am. Case number reads as 88D, as in dog, 01-1303-FB, as in Frank Boy, dash 000172.
Okay. And that's from March 7th, 2013?
Yes, ma'am. And the thing that annoys me most about this is that you have a case investigator by the name of Dan Hoffman that was supposed to be looking up the past criminal activity of this guy out of Louisville, and he would never call me back after that. After multiple messages and emails, voicemails, I've got nothing out of that department.
Who is Dan Hoffman?
Dan Hoffman was a CPS investigator in Washington County.
Okay, so he was investigating in 2013?
That's correct.
And you said you have not heard anything back from him in regards to that investigation?
Voicemails have been unreturned. And I'm finding out in the last year or so he's left that department and he's gone somewhere else. The sheer point of the matter is that this should have gone over to the courts without my trying to kill anybody about this, but this has just been a runaround from the get-go.
What should have gone to the court?
Well, here I've got someone that... Oh, and the thing that really annoys me is that for Kimberly's sister, there was an open and rape investigation, and now 8 years ago, or was it 9, they were supposed to pick him up from Salem, Indiana to question him, and they could never find him. When I ended up having the rape investigation opened again 5 months go by and they couldn't find him until I ended up getting ATF involved. Suddenly, 1 week.
Who are you referring to when you say him? And
Curtis Myrick.
who? Okay, and what does the rape regarding Alexander's sister have to do with that?
Curtis Myrick raped Charlotte Alexander. And the police department out there never picked him up for questioning.
And that's in Washington County?
Correct. And then when the case was reopened for 5 months, we can't find him. He wasn't going anywhere. They weren't looking for him.
When did this occur, the rape?
This was about 8-9 years ago. And the case was opened 8-9 years ago. And it's been a bad joke for that part, for Charlotte. And it was not exactly easy for her to even talk to me about this because she hadn't told anybody about this she hadn't told me about this until Abigail was essentially legally kidnapped by these two individuals. Any which way, the reason Abigail's there is that when Kim got out of jail, being released after 10 days, ROR'd pending court cases, she went back across the river, driven by Curtis Myrick, blocked my car in, and in order to, the great state of Indiana did not bother telling me there was a no contact order until 3 weeks after she got picked up, long after she was released.
Okay, 1 second, please. Okay, so this was in 2013 as well?
Correct. October 25th, 2013, she blocked my car in, and she ended up coercing me into an every 2-week agreement with Abigail. So I wrote it up, she signed it, so I have proof that she was violating the no contact order. But since it's across state lines, oh good God, it's turned into a bad joke. And I do want you to point that in there, that since it was across state lines, neither agency, neither Louisville nor Jeffersonville, Indiana, wanted to claim responsibility for violation of a no contact order.
She wrote up an agreement with you?
I wrote the agreement and she signed it, that we were going to exchange Abigail every 2 weeks. As soon as she went back to Salem, Indiana with her mother, she signed custody over to Paula Chesser. And I've been dealing with a system that is broken ever since.
Okay.
The sheer fact of the matter of this guy being arrested by ATF again and the questions not coming to the court are very, very troubling.
Are you referring to him being arrested a couple days ago?
Both times, actually.
Okay, but do you know that he was arrested?
We're going to find out. The sheer fact anybody was arrested from the household where my daughter is supposed to be is not what I would call a stable environment for her. Especially with what I've already outlined to you.
I'm sorry, what was the date again that the agreement was signed between you and Mr. Sander?
October 25th, 2013. In clear violation of the no contact order.
All right, anything else?
What case number has been assigned to this so I have it for future reference?
It will be report number, 2000 541 815.
Read back as 2000541 815.
Yes. Is there any other information you wanted to add to this before I read back through it?
Go ahead and read back through it, and if there's any exclusions I should add, I'll add them to that point.
Okay, and I may have a few other questions as we go back through just to clarify some of the information if I did miss anything.
That'll work. Thank you.
You reported Ms. Alexander as violent bipolar. You reported Ms. Alexander attacked Mr. Jones a couple years ago. Mr. Jones came back 2 hours later and his arm was still bleeding. Ms. Alexander was still rambling. Mr. Jones picked up Abigail and walked out of the home because Ms. Alexander had taken his car keys. He reported Ms. Alexander called 911 and said a stranger had kidnapped their daughter. When the cops found out that Mr. Jones was the father, Ms. Alexander accidentally identified where the wound was. Ms. Jones was resisting arrest and assaulted an officer. He reported that she had a cut-off straw in her pocket that she was using for pain pills.
They found that. I didn't have to say anything. And her name is Alexander, just to make certain. I think you said Miss Jones on one of the readbacks.
Miss Alexander. He reported 2 days ago officers were at the Union Street address arresting people. You're unaware of who was arrested, and it's unknown why the people were being arrested. You reported Mr. Myrick was arrested on March 7, 2013 for being a convicted felon and possession of multiple firearms. They also found enough drugs in the home to list the home as a spot of distribution. He reported you're not aware of anything like that occurring since 2013. He reported that the report number for that, or the case is from 2013, the case number for that is 88D01-103-FB-00172.
Add 10 to that. 3 zeros.
At the end?
Yes.
000172.
Correct.
He reported a case was investigated by Dan Hoffman, who's with CPS out of Washington County. This occurred in March 2013. You've not heard anything back from him in regards to that investigation. Mr. Hoffman has since left the Department of Child Services and gone elsewhere. Ms. Alexander's sister,
Charlotte.
Raped by... Okay.
Charlotte Alexander.
Okay, 1 second. Ms. Alexander's sister, Charlotte Alexander, was raped by Mr. Merrick. When did this occur?
Approximately 9 years ago.
Okay, and is Charlotte an adult now?
Yes.
Was she an adult at the time of the rape?
No.
Do you know how old she is now?
Early 20s.
The police department in Washington County never picked up Mr. Merrick for questioning. He reported Charlotte is now in her early 20s. Abigail is with Miss Chester and Mr. Merrick because when Miss Alexander got out of jail, she went across the river. She was driven by... When you say she went across the river, she came to where you
went from Jeffersonville, Indiana to Louisville, Kentucky. And that's where she was arrested, Jeffersonville, Indiana. I'll let you go ahead and add that to wherever you need to in the report.
You reported that the state of Indiana did not notify you that there was a no contact order. You reported Miss Alexander had blocked your car in, and then you wrote up an agreement in regards to
every 2 weeks
Abigail every 2 weeks. This was signed on 11/25/13.
10/25.
10/25.
Correct.
As soon as Miss Abigail went back to Salem, Indiana, with Miss Chester, or
Paula.
Abigail went back.
Yes.
Okay. As soon as Abigail went back to Salem with Miss Alexander.
And Chester.
over to Ms. Chester, you reported that you have been dealing with the system that's broken ever since. You believe Mr. Merrick was arrested again a couple days ago, but you're not sure. But you know that some people were arrested at home a couple days ago. You report as a fact that someone was arrested from the home. In the previous history, you do not call that a stable environment. Does that sound correct?
That's correct.
All right. And besides the arrest at the home, are you aware of anything currently going on at the home, at Ms. Chester and Mr. Merrick's home?
The guy's got a violent history. I've been keeping away trying to go through ATF. So, no, I don't know anything else going on at this point.
Okay. But are you aware of him being violent towards Ms. Chester recently or anything like that?
Not yet, but I do know that he's had violence towards Kimberly Alexander and Charlotte Alexander. One of Kim Alexander's favorite stories was him picking her up and throwing her across the room when she was younger. In fact, you'll see that in the CPS notes in Louisville, Kentucky, where Kimberly has said that to CPS in Louisville. Kimberly and Charlotte were both removed from Paula Chester's household by Louisville CPS. Charlotte Alexander once, Kimberly came back once, so she was removed by CPS twice from that household.
Okay. And do you have any contact with Abigail?
I have not. This was supposed to be simple, easy to deal with, and it just turned into something ugly.
Okay. And have you contacted the courts in regards to changing custody or anything like that?
I'm going through it as of this week.
I'm sorry, you cut out. What did you say?
I'm filing again to go through this crap.
You said filing again to get custody back of Abigail?
Correct.
No. Okay. All right. And do you know which police department is it that responded to the home? Was it like the sheriff's department or was it?
No idea.
Okay. Okay. And do you know if DCS was involved in regards to Charlotte being raped by Mr. Merrick in the past?
It was the Louisville CPS that was brought in, and the case was supposed to be investigated by Washington County. Because that's where Myrick and the rape happened.
Did the rape occur in Louisville or Indiana?
Indiana. That's why Washington County was supposed to pick him up for investigation.
Washington County DCS?
Washington County Police Department.
Okay, but in regards to, like, was any CPS involved with that?
I'm uncertain. I do know the Louisville CPS had gone through the Louisville Police Department, and then the Louisville had contacted out to Washington County. I'm not certain if the Washington County CPS had been involved.
All right. Can I ask you some worker safety questions in regards to Ms. Chester's home?
Go right ahead.
If you're not aware, that's fine. Just let me know you're not aware.
It's a trailer with a bunch of little small dogs that poop all over the place. Other than that, keep going. Go ahead and ask the questions.
Okay. Are these animals aggressive?
That's an interesting question. Myrick has two properties. The ones on Reunion Street has the rather passive dogs. But if you go to his other property on 9459 South Becks Mill Road in Fredericksburg, Indiana. He has Rottweilers that are trained to kill.
What was the numbers to that address?
9459 South Becks Mill Road.
What city?
Fredericksburg. And Beck is Becks.
He has Rottweilers trained to kill?
Correct.
Do we know if Abigail spends time in that address?
I hope to God not.
All right. Any weapons in the home?
The weapon should have been removed, but it's been 2 years. God knows what he's bought since.
Any contagious diseases, diagnosed mental illness in Miss Chester's home?
Mental illness, I'll go for that one right there.
Who's diagnosed him with what?
Okay, let me go ahead and put it this way. From what Kim and Charlotte have both told me from when they were growing up, their mother loved to get the extra state support money by putting the kids on as much medication she could for any symptom she could conjure up. I'm currently concerned that Abigail has probably been put on ADD medication at this point in time, just like Charlotte and Kimberly were.
But you're not aware of that at this time?
I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised. It is something that merits denoting and finding out. Oh, yes. They just got knocked out of the Section 8 program because they kept saying that they were not boyfriend-girlfriend and not live-in boyfriend-girlfriend. And they got knocked out of the CPS system because they got knocked out of the Section 8 system because they pretty much got found together multiple times. And they just recently got married.
Mr. Myrick and Miss Chester?
Yes.
All right. Any drug, alcohol use, drug manufacturing?
You're going to probably find marijuana and I don't know how much cocaine. But you'll find, if you pat them both down, you'll find both of them, high probability, will have some sort of glass pipe upon their person.
Okay, so you say probably. Do you not know if they're...
I know he keeps one on his person. I can't guarantee her.
When was the last time you were aware of him using drugs?
Pretty much the entire time that I knew him.
I mean, how do you know that they're still using drugs?
Perpetual users rarely quit, even when they've been nailed by the cops multiple times. And some of the people that I have out there have seen them outside smoking a variety of times. So, I've heard descriptions that include glass pipes, little, and cigarettes. I can't guarantee anything, that's why I haven't called before. But I can guarantee the police have been there.
So they've been smoking glass pipes?
Correct.
Marijuana and cigarettes?
Yep, and probably something harder. The common complaint from them was, oh, I've got pain, I got to do this.
Okay, so someone recently has told you they've seen them smoking glass pipes and marijuana.
Over the last 2 years, people driving by that live near them have seen them outside smoking different times. So yes.
Okay.
It's been a consistent thing. It's not gone away. But it's not enough to be used as evidence unto itself. Cop cars showing up, that's a little different.
In the last 6 months, have you heard of them using drugs?
Yes.
Same thing, the pipes, glass pipes and all that?
Correct. But again, that's not enough to go for an investigation, I didn't think. But cop cars showing up, that certainly clarifies things.
criminal activity?
Past. Nothing current that I know of.
All right. And do they have neighbors at that address?
They have neighbors across the street that see the household.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to try and recommend this for an assessment. If the recommendation was to change, I would give you a call back. Ultimately, it is up to the local office in Washington County, the local DCS office.
Yeah, who just referred me over to you. I just talked to Mark Berry.
Okay. Well, and it'll be forwarded on for them to look into. And ultimately, it is up to them whether or not they feel it reaches legal sufficiency. But I'm saying I'm going to recommend it for an investigation at this time.
Fair enough. And your name is, ma'am?
My name is Stephanie.
All right. Okay, Stephanie, thank you very much for your time.
All right. Well, thank you, and you have a good day.
Thank you.